The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Soto, for 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and I wanted to take this time to honor some great heroes in my district of Hispanic descent who range from reporters to civil rights heroes to community organizers to businessmen and women, and I'm just proud to be here tonight to be able to do that. The first gentleman I wanted to talk about is Daniel Barajas, the executive director of the Young American Dreamers. Daniel Barajas was born in Winter Haven, Florida, to a family of migrant workers. Growing up, he worked in the orange groves of Florida. There, he witnessed firsthand how farm workers were exposed to dangerous pesticides while working for poverty wages. He also learned about the long-term effects of failed immigration policies, seeing his own father be deported during a local operation. As a teenager, Daniel saw his friends join gangs to survive poverty and defend themselves against deeply rooted racism within their communities. He joined this path but was dubbed lucky because he survived. Barajas dropped out of school in the 9th grade but earned his GED in 2001. During an incarceration in 2009, he noticed that inmates had no access to books or to reading glasses. It was then that Daniel founded the Library of Hope to collect books and reading glasses to donate to inmates. Daniel's younger sister, Maria Isabel, founded the Young American Dreamers, YAD, in 2010 to help local immigrant youth. Maria Isabel passed away in a car accident tragically in 2012 to honor her legacy. Daniel joined YAD and was voted as executive director in 2013. Barajas also continued to fundraise for annual scholarships to local students and participates in philanthropic events in the community. Daniel now speaks at high schools across Polk County and talks to students about his life and shows them that one is not defined by their past and that breaking down barriers is possible. He also closely works with the Polk County Supervisor of Elections Office to help register voters, increase voter turnout, and distribute clemency applications to help felons restore their civil rights. Daniel is an example of one who could turn their life around and benefit the community as a whole, and works with the Mexican consulate in Orlando to do community workshops to teach immigrant families of their constitutional rights. Thank you, Daniel, for your contributions. Next is Erica Gomez Tejeda with Vamos for Puerto Rico, Florida chapter. She is the Civic Engagement Coordinator at 32 BJ SEIU. Erica Gomez Tejeda came from Colombia to the United States with her mom when she was 8 years old. Moved by her lifelong commitment to her birth country, Erica moved to Medellin, Colombia in 2009 and began a master's in theology. Upon her return to the U.S. 2 years later, she moved to Florida and was elected vice president of SEIU Local 1199, United Healthcare Workers East, for the Florida Nursing Home Division, representing 11,000 nursing home workers in the state. In 2014, under the leadership of 32 BJ President Hector Figueroa, Erica returned to the local 32 BJ as Deputy Director of the 12,000-member New York City Security Division, leading the field of operation for the division's first citywide contracts. In 2016, Erica moved back to Florida and became the 32 BJ Civic Engagement Coordinator and organizer of Vamos for Puerto Rico, Florida Division. With 40% of the Orange County Public Schools community speaking primarily Spanish, Vamos for Puerto Rico, Florida parents, teachers, and students and organizations successfully worked with the Orange County Public Schools to ensure English learning parents get information, orientations, and translation. The coalition is currently focusing on offering immediate life-saving resources to Puerto Rico and the cancellation of crippling debt, while working locally to open doors for the newly arrived Puerto Ricans to our region so they can use their knowledge and skills to integrate and contribute to the local economy and society from the day they arrive. Next, I'd like to highlight Esteban Garces, Florida State Director of Mi Familia Vota. Esteban directs the Florida operation of Mi Familia Vota, managing strategy, operations, local policy development, campaigns, civic engagement, organizing efforts, and nonpartisan electoral work. Esteban's career was set in motion at an early age as a victim of landlord abuse. Continued exposure to immigration, education, and racial injustices spurred his interest in social justice. He began his career in social justice organizing then electoral organizations. He joined Mi Familia Vota in 2015 to continue working to create positive change. He was previously the Immigration Campaign Director for SEIU Local 615. Next, I'd like to honor Frank Lopez of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida. Frank Lopez is the president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando. Lopez is passionate about what he does, and nothing is more fulfilling to him than being part of a team with similar interests, of an organization that is philanthropic and mission-driven, and that values and paying tribute to those communities he serves is what he enjoys best. Lopez has been successful in creating substantive underwriting support to develop and sustain innovative youth learning and entrepreneurship services. These programs have produced an impressive array of community building benefits, such as workforce readiness and leadership development, youthful entrepreneurship, experimental training programs, experimental training camps, mentoring and coaching programs, community-based technology, and wealth-building programs. Lopez served as a member of the U.S. Hispanic Council on Federal Employment that advises the director of the U.S. Office of Personnel Management on strategies for improving access of Latinos in the federal workforce. Lopez has also served as a founding member of the National Hispanic Outreach Advisory Council, established by Intuit Corporation, focusing on diversity and inclusion and expanding penetration of equitable tax filing practices within growing Latino communities across the country. Lopez is also former president and CEO of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Foundation, developing strategic services to Latino entrepreneurs from across the nation. Throughout his career, Frank has served several philanthropic and social service governing boards, most recently with Source America, an organization created by Congress that manages over $2.5 billion in federal employment-producing contracts administered locally by affiliated nonprofit agencies across the United States and Puerto Rico. Next, I'd like to honor Ingrid Morfa, immigrant, attorney, and activist, a leader in immigration law in Central Florida. Ingrid Morfa is an attorney and first-generation American. Her parents migrated from the Dominican Republic in the 1970s. As a mother of four, she is a firm believer that educating our community and helping those in need will make the United States a better place for her children and grandchildren for years to come. Her studies at Harvard University, Barry University School of Law, Cambridge College in the UK, Kaplan University, and the New York City of Technology College have equipped Ingrid Morfa to help those around her. As a member of the National Caribbean Leadership Team and the Democratic Hispanic Caucus of Florida, an advocate for domestic violence prevention with Nuevo Sendero, and as an attorney who assisted more than 2,000 naturalization applications and dozens of green card applicants who are victims of domestic violence and crime at no cost, she has shown a devotion to the community that is only surpassed by her love that she has for her family. Next, I would like to honor Jimmy Torres, community organizer and activist, and also major member of the SEIU union. Jimmy Torres Velez grew up in Puerto Rico, where he went to public school. After he finished his bachelor's degree in labor relations at the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras campus, he went to work with migrant families in southern New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Since then, he has worked for various different unions in states and in Puerto Rico. In those years, he has held various positions, including trustee, secretary-treasurer, organizing director, and AFL-CIO state director. As part of his work, he has created and developed relationships with various Puerto Rican communities. After years of organizing public and private sector employees, Jimmy organized and managed the state legislative office for SEIU in Puerto Rico and cooperated with the establishment of a legislative coordinating body for the AARP as well. After moving to Florida to help with retired members of the Service Employees International Union, he became an activist of the Puerto Rican community and Latino community overall. To improve the Latino representation in our area, he organized and coordinated the Boricua Vota movement. This movement is a nonpartisan educational and mobilization tool to improve activism and civic engagement and participation of Puerto Ricans in the political process. Jimmy also organized and became president of the Puerto Rico Action Initiative. To respond to Hurricane Irma, Jimmy has helped to organize a coordinated group called Aid Support and Help Coordinating Group, otherwise known as CASA. When Maria devastated the island, CASA galvanized enthusiasm and the desire of the Puerto Rican community in Central Florida to help his fellow compatriots, my fellow compatriots on the island, and has collected and has sent hundreds of thousands of dollars in goods and merchandise to Puerto Rico. Next, I'd like to honor George Esteves, WFTV news anchor and journalist in Orlando. George Esteves is an anchor for the evening newscast of Eyewitness News at 10 p.m. on WRDQ TV 27. He also anchors and reports from newscasts on WFTV Channel 9. George first came to WFTV in 2001 and covered the attacks of 9/11 and how they impacted Central Florida's tourism industry. During the next 5 years, as an anchor and reporter for WFTV and WRDQ, George worked on major news affecting the various counties that make up our Central Florida community. George anchored several major local stories, including the severe hurricane season of 2004, during which several storms impacted the Orlando area. Since his return to Central Florida, George has been sent to cover major stories. His most recent trip was to Atlanta, where he interviewed Ronnie Ahmed, one of 3 students injured when a shooter stormed the campus of Florida State University in 2014 and started firing at random. The son of Cuban immigrants, George is from West New York, New Jersey, where he graduated from Rutgers University, like myself, with a dual degree in journalism and communication. Now he is glad to be back in Central Florida, where he enjoys the change of seasons each year. He enjoys the warm weather because it gives him a chance to leave the gym to take his 5-mile runs outdoors, where he can really break a sweat. Thank you, George, for your contributions. Next, I'd like to honor Josephine Balzac, Esquire, attorney, writer, and professor at Rollins College, specializing in environmental law. Josephine M. Balzac is currently a visiting assistant professor in the Department of Business, teaching in the social entrepreneurship major. She has the honor of being part of Rollins College since 2014. Her greatest honor is receiving 2 teaching awards from the students, a Student Government Association's Outstanding Faculty Award and the Walter E. Barden Distinguished Teaching Award. Throughout each of her classes, she makes sure to engage with the local community by bringing her legal professionals and organizations as guest speakers. Professor Balzac is a licensed attorney admitted to practice law in Florida and the U.S. District Court, Middle District of Florida. In May of 2017, the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU, College of Law presented her law office with the Distinguished Alumni Awards and Professional Excellence Award. Solo practitioner. She is also a community rights staff attorney for the Center for Earth Jurisprudence. During the summer, she is an adjunct law professor at Barry University School of Law, teaching sustainability in business. Professor Balzac previously worked as an associate attorney at an AV-rated trial litigation firm and worked for a food safety regulatory consulting group. Ms. Balzac is actively involved in the local community, frequently educating and advocating as an avid speaker on environmental justice, sustainable development, climate change, human rights, food, and social justice issues. Thank you, Josephine, for your contributions. Next, I'd like to honor Luis Pastrana, attorney, activist, and professor at Ana G Mendez University. Luis Pastrana was born in Puerto Rico. He received his bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras campus, while simultaneously being commissioned from the Army ROTC as a second lieutenant in the artillery branch. He taught at the Puerto Rico Junior College of Doña Ana G Mendez, and many years later came full circle and is now a distinguished professor at the Orlando campus of the Ana G Mendez University system. Luis served in the Army for 20 years. He was with the Vietnamese Irregular Forces as an advisor for 2 years in the mountains of Vietnam, as well as an advisor to the Spanish Army for a couple of years in Spain and in many of other parts of the globe. After retirement, he began to pursue law at the University of Puerto Rico. He has worked in banking as vice president for investments of the Cooperative Bank, as a general manager for a newspaper in San Juan. He was a candidate for mayor of Guaynabo, director of finances for the Popular Democratic Party, trial attorney, and senior partner of the law firm Pastrana, Perez, Martinez, and Quevedo. Executive Director of the Puerto Rican Federal Affairs Administration for the Southeast of the United States, and now Professor of Law of the Bachelor's Degree in Criminal Justice for the Orlando campus of Ana G Mendez University. He published 5 books, all honoring his Puerto Rican roots. Thank you, Luis, for your contributions. Next, I'd like to honor Nancy Alvarez. Nancy was part of the first Hispanic anchor team on an English language TV station in Central Florida, along with George Esteves, her co-anchor. She brought the 10 o'clock news on Channel 27 TV to #1 for the first time in more than 10 years. Alvarez joined the team at the ABC affiliate in May 2010 and currently co-anchors Eyewitness News This Morning, alongside Jamie Holmes. She is the daughter of Cuban immigrants and was born and raised in South Florida, although she considers Orlando a second home. Alvarez has spent most of her journalism career in Central Florida, where she has been front and center for every major news event in the last 15-plus years. She spent years covering the space program at Kennedy Space Center and was also in Central Florida for Hurricanes Charlie, Francis, and Jean, reporting nonstop during the now infamous 2004 hurricane season. In recent years, Alvarez was a central part of our station's coverage of the Pulse nightclub shooting tragedy, covered various stories during the community's journey towards healing. She was also on the air for continuous coverage of Hurricane Irma and traveled to Puerto Rico to report on the devastating impacts of Hurricane Maria. Alvarez is also a graduate of Florida Atlantic University with degrees in communications and history. She dedicated her career to giving a voice to people in need and using honest journalism as a tool for community service. Alvarez is a mother of 2 who is married to a news photographer, has dedicated her life to honoring the sacrifices made by her parents when they came to the U.S. from Cuba. It is her hope that her life, career, and impact have made the hardship they've endured worth it. Next, I'd like to honor Orlando Rolón. Orlando Rolón was born in Bayamón, Puerto Rico, and has lived in Central Florida since 1977. After high school, he served in the United States Marine Reserves for 4 years. In 1992, Orlando Rolón was hired by the Orlando Police Department. In 1997, Officer Rolón was promoted to sergeant, and in 1999, he was selected as the first full-time bilingual public information officer in the history of the Orlando Police Department. In 2003, Sergeant Rolón was promoted to lieutenant. He served as a liaison to the mayor, and during that time was named advisor for Hispanic affairs for the city of Orlando. In 2010, he was selected as the Special Operations Traffic Enforcement Section Commander. In 2013, Lieutenant Rolón was promoted to the rank of captain. He served as a patrol division commander and the crisis negotiation team commander. Prior to his appointment as deputy chief, he was serving as a the Professional Standards Division Commander, which included internal affairs, planning, fiscal, and training under his command. In 2013, he was named as one of the 25 most influential Hispanics in Central Florida. In 2014, Mayor Buddy Dyer appointed Captain Orlando Rolón to the rank of Deputy Chief. In 2016, Deputy Chief Rolón was then assigned Patrol Services Bureau Commander with nearly 400 of the department's sworn staff officers under his command. Deputy Chief Rolón is a graduate of the Southern Police Institute Command Officer Development Course, the FBI National Academy Session 263, and the Major Cities Chiefs Association Police Executive Leadership Institute number 4 session. Deputy Chief Orlando Rolón is a member of the FBI National Academy Associates, Florida Police Chiefs Association, International Association of Police Chiefs, Major Cities Chiefs Association, and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando. Thank you, Chief Rolón, for your contributions. Next, I'd like to honor Roxy Santiago, Board of Director for the GLBT Orlando Center and Board of Pulse Foundation. Roxy Santiago was born in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, and has lived in Orlando for over 30 years. Roxy has worked for over 12 years at Walt Disney World in numerous management roles and had the privilege of being a personal tour guide for former presidents and other high-profile individuals. She was a partner with Fish Fest Entertainment for 10 years. The organization held dozens of events, raising more than $150,000 for charity over the past decade. Roxy was TRICARE Federal Club Steering Committee member for Human Rights Campaign in 2006 through 2009, and in 2014 to present, she is currently serving as Web Communications Steering Committee and Community Engagement. In 2014, she was honored with being selected among 50 distinguished local LGBT leaders by entering her biography and accomplishments in the U.S. Congressional Record. And here it is happening again. In 2015, she became a member of the Democratic Hispanic Caucus of Central Florida and assists in their web communications. 2015, Roxy also became a volunteer at the American Red Cross of Central Florida. In the aftermath of Pulse, she was hired by the Red Cross in the position of Community Partnership. In 2016, she was selected by the National Human Rights Campaign with 19 other women around the U.S. to attend a workshop for women and leadership, equality for the 21st century. In 2016, Roxy became a board member for the GLBT Center of Orlando and serves as their secretary on the board. Thank you, Roxy, for your contributions. Next, I'd like to honor Tirso Moreno. Tirso was born in Mexico and came to this country in 1971 with his family to do farm work. He is currently the director of the Farm Workers Association of Florida. In 1982, he became the lead organizer for the Farm Workers Project of the Office for Farm Ministry, during which time he and several other farm workers initiated the Farm Worker Association. Under his leadership as general coordinator, the association has grown from a local to statewide organization with over 10,000 members. Tirso is a co-founder and board member of the Farm Worker Health and Safety Institute and serves on the boards of Southern Partners Fund, Domestic Fair Trade Association, National Immigrant Farming Initiative, and the Rural Coalition. He also advocates for farm workers and immigrants' rights in national and international meetings. The Farm Worker Association of Florida currently has 5 offices throughout Central and South Florida. The mission of FWAF is to build power among farm worker and rural low-income communities to respond to and gain control over the social, political, economic, workplace, health, and environmental justice issues that impact their lives. WAF's core strategy is to help farm workers realize their power to be effective agents of social change and personal change by validating and strengthening the experience and understanding of farm workers, building farm workers' capacity to participate in decision-making processes that affect their lives, and raising consciousness about and advocating for farm workers and immigrants' rights. Tirso, thank you for your contributions. I'd like to honor William Diaz, Spanish radio host. Identified as a consistent community leader and insightful journalist, William Diaz's passion to help fellow citizens in life's struggles has been evidenced in the last 28 years of his residency in Central Florida. William's activism in favor of Latin American political development has granted him daily recognition with most of the Latin American community in Central Florida who listen to him and read his articles. A native of Cumana and raised in Caracas, Venezuela, he developed a natural way to start friendships and show loyalty and support for all humanitarian causes. William was the recipient of a scholarship that brought him to the United States to obtain his postgraduate diploma. In 1976, the University of Texas at Austin gave him a master's degree in mass communication. William served as a Venezuelan diplomatic official in Europe when he was designated as general coordinator of the GMA Foundation and educational attaché to the Venezuela Embassy in Paris, France. Founder and president of several community organizations in his native Venezuela, in 1989, William brought all of his experience to the U.S. Since then, he has been very active within the Latino community, specifically advising and counseling new nonprofit organizations. At this time, William is full-time with his radio show, Cara a Cara, con William Diaz, which broadcasts in 18 different counties. Founder of Casa de Venezuela 15 years ago, which gathered most of the Venezuelans in Central Florida, and founder of Made in Venezuela Business Club. Dedicated to developing networking and promotions of products and services for Venezuelan businessmen and professionals, and current executive director of MUD Central Florida, the political organization that hosts and coordinates most of Venezuela's opposition political parties. Next, I'd like to honor Zoraida Andino Rios, president of Misión Boricua. Zoraida Rios Andino has been a resident of Orlando, Florida for 17 years. She has been very active in promoting cultural, social, and historic events in the Puerto Rican community. Zoraida is currently president and founder of Misión Boricua, an organization dedicated to history and civic engagement of the Puerto Rican community. Zoraida supervised the creation and promotion of Misión Boricua's outreach efforts. Zoraida has been part of a National Conference of Puerto Rican Women, Orlando chapter, United Front 436, National Boricua Human Rights Network, Orlando chapter, and Asociación Boriqueña. She is currently a board member for Speak Up Florida and a member and co-founder of the Justice Project Coalition of Central Florida. In addition, she was an English as a second language instructor and worked as a personnel administrator for many years. Zoraida was also program coordinator for ALSE, where she assisted hundreds of high school students pursuing post-secondary education. Zoraida has also led the movement to have the Florida legislature pass a law in 2014 to put an honorary plaque along Cimarron Boulevard in recognition of Rico Picard, the late civil rights hero in Central Florida. Zoraida has received numerous awards for her community service, like the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Conference of Puerto Rican Women, Roberto Clemente Community Service Award, Latino History Society President's Award, Outstanding Membership Award from the Asociación Boriqueña, Community Service Award from the Office of Congressman Alan Grayson, 2014 Florida State Proclamation recipient from State Representative Victor Torres, Coquille de Oro Award from La Casa de Puerto Rico, the Rico Picard Award from Orange County Democratic Party, and more. Zoraida, thank you for your contributions to Central Florida. I'm excited to be able to have this opportunity to talk about these heroes, so many who are symbolic of the hardworking Hispanic Americans in Central Florida that help out with everyone from our poor to our civil rights, to education, to the news, to politics, to our environment, to families, to so many important issues that matter to Hispanics across Central Florida and across our nation. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.